Hey everyone, it's Terrence Branley with the Grow IT podcast. And today I am lucky to have Andy Coan, who is the CEO of Splice It. And he has been the owner, founder, CEO for 20 plus years. So he's got a wealth of experience. And we love talking with, leaders like him because they've seen the ups, the downs, and the trials and tribulations that occur over decades. And we're grateful to have him here today and get a little bit of his insight. So, Andy, welcome.
Hi, Terrence. Thanks for having me. That's the first time I've been referred, or our company has been referred to as Splice It. I like that. I'm going to have to start using it. It's Splice Technologies, and the IT in our URL is for Splice IT. But
that was a nice way of telling me that I mispronounced your company name. See, I like you already.
No, it's okay. We've changed our name a few times. It's always been Splice, but it was Splice Telecom at one point, and it's now Splice Technologies.
Okay, so we're gonna do Splice Technologies. I'll get that right. We'll cut that out maybe in future podcasts, but I think we'll be good. Makes all of us privy to it. But I appreciate it. And tell me a little bit about your background. Obviously, both with with Splice, and just your entrepreneurial background and your background in IT as well.
Sure. I mean, way back, I'm a former athlete. Played a couple sports in college, football and baseball, and so I think that's where the competitiveness comes from. I've been in the industry. Started out in telecom for 30 years, and Splice 2 decades ago we came out as a telecom reseller, focusing on DIA, or dedicated internet access, and private line. So we always stayed in or focused on the data side of telecom. And we did that for a little bit over a decade as a telecom reseller. And we were wholesaling carriers. We had about 100 carriers contracts in place, starting from Verizon and MCI, Sprint, every carrier you can imagine. We had an agreement with, and about almost 10 years ago now, we decided to pivot and become an MSP. So we sold our assets to GTT, our customer base, essentially, and reemerge as an MSP, where we specialize in providing outsource IT solutions and infrastructure management.
Okay, so that's your core offering now, correct?
Yeah, core offering is IT solutions. So our product set is remote desktop support as a service. So customers can outsource their IT support, desktop support, through Splice. And that also includes, as part of the stack, NOC management, monitoring and management, proactive monitoring management, carrier management, where customers can outsource their provisioning and ongoing support for their telecom services. So they maintain the carrier contracts, but they can outsource all the functionality and support of their carrier services. And then we also operate a global field services practice where we can manage dispatch to customer locations in over 100 countries worldwide for services such as, cabling runs, rack and stack, to carrier equipment deployment. We work with a lot of SD-WAN providers on deploying their gear to various sites across the country. So really any project that requires on-site technicians, we can project manage and support.
Wow. How do you supply the labor part of it, being, whether it's a global reach or whatever? Do you work with, channel partners that you have experience with?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we are in the channel, yeah. So that's where the majority of our customer leads come from. The way we manage the labor, however, is, we have a pool of about 18,000 contracted field technicians across the globe that we utilize for different projects based on the scope and the skill set of those technicians in that geographic location. And we have it all in a database, and we know, depending on where that project is, who to deploy, where to deploy them. And we project manage all of that in-house with Splice employees. So the contracted field technicians are contracted 1099 employee, or technicians that we pay as a contractor, and then our in-house employees manage and support. It's a very high touch business. The field services piece of it requires
maybe
a lot
you can
of
explain a little bit about
coordination.
that, yeah, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that, like what and I was trying to tie it back to what are the challenges that your clients are trying to solve, right? What are their problems? I would imagine one of them, being that they may have remote projects that come up that they don't have the ability to tap into a labor pool wherever that project may be. But maybe if you can talk specifically to that and to any other of the issues that you see out there that your clients are experiencing.
Sure. Well, there's a varying reasons why companies would utilize us for that, and one of which you just described. It could be a carrier that has 1,000 location deployment scheduled, but they don't have field techs on staff located in every state or country, and so they'll outsource. It's not unusual to outsource contractors for this type of work. And the same goes with companies that, let's say they have an SD-WAN deployment and they've got 300 locations and they just bought a Cato solution. Well, they didn't think about having what it would take to install that service. And a lot of the SD-WAN providers, when they first rolled out their services, rolled it out as a plug and play. So they would deliver the equipment to the customer location and then say, okay, Mr. Customer, plug it in. Well, a lot of these companies don't have that expertise. Anybody can plug something in, but to test it and turn it up is sometimes requires a skill set that these companies just don't have. So it makes sense that they would outsource that functionality to a company like ours. And what we discovered is, although that's time and materials, it's not the MRR type of business that you're looking for. Oftentimes that's the entrance into a customer relationship. You do a good job there, and then now, they look at us and ask, well, what else do you guys do? Because our core service offering really is desktop support and NOC support. So where we're managing and monitoring network devices such as switches, routers, and wireless access points, and also providing desktop support for end users. That's our bread and butter right there. But this field services business has just kind of taken off in a direction that we never anticipated.
Do you find that has been a much easier entry point for you in terms of both from from your offering in the marketplace, as well as giving you the opportunity to have further discussions once that business relationship is established, to be able to, to position your core offering to them once they've then had experience working with you?
It's great. That's a great question, and the quick answer is yes. And the reason is, if you look at managed services, it's so broad, and we stick to our lane, and we don't divert into like cybersecurity or anything like that. But there's a need for all of our services. However, the field services piece of the business is an easier sale, for one, in that it's really simple to explain. You need somebody on site. It's time and materials. Here's the cost. Here's the the hourly rate, and here's the estimated time it's going to take us to complete the project. And so when our sales force is within the channel, it's incumbent upon us to train our channel on our services, and it's kind of an easier way for them. If you look at the channel, for example, the typical channel agent or broker has a ton of services that they can provide or offer to their clients, and most of their clients are existing customers. And so when they hear that, we can send out field technicians to every state and many countries in the world, it resonates. Okay, we just had to figure out a solution for a 1,500 location deployment, and we were running around with our heads like chickens with their heads cut off. Well, we could call Splice and they can manage that whole project for us. And so it has resonated. It is really looked upon as kind of an easy service to understand. And once we get our foot in the door, then now we can explain to our customer the rest of our products that we offer.
That I'm going to tell you, Andy, that is a conversation that's come up many times with our clients and even with prospects. And that is, I impart upon them to try and create an offer that allows them to get their foot in the door. Because everyone that we work with as a client, and we don't work with a lot of clients, but, we'll tell them the first thing we ask them is like, do you have happy clients? Do people? Yes. And they say, yes. That's not our problem. We get clients. We keep them for a long period of time. They're very happy with us. My next, suggestion to them is create a low investment, low risk offer that you can go out to the marketplace to help establish new business relationships. Because then, once you get in, they're going to see the same value that the other clients did over the period of, several years, but you'll be able to get that on a more accelerated timeline and build your pipeline faster. It's just amazing. And that's why I really was asking you in terms of, if that avenue that you've chosen with that offer to be an entry point has a lower kind of barrier to entry for you that allows you to kind of probably win some deals, win some quick wins to get your foot in the door to be able to start establishing those business relationships.
Yeah, it's an astute point. First of all, it doesn't require a big legal MSA. It's a 2-page document with that includes our pricing information. And, we didn't set out to do this when we built our managed service practice. A customer came to us and said, hey, we have 15 locations we need to deploy Masergy SD-WAN to. Can you guys help us? And, we said, yeah, sure, we'll help you in any way we can. I mean, that's kind of, our mentality is to serve our clients. And if they ask us to do something, our first response is, well, we'll try. And, we had the expertise, or I would say the skill set to deliver that 15 location SD-WAN. And, we discovered we were pretty good at it. So, we built a product around it. And like you said, it's a low entry barrier to entry. There are a few regional companies that do it, and you can go on, websites and find technicians to go do onesie, twosie jobs. But for bigger projects and multiple locations, it really does require project management. So we built a project management team over the last 8 years that focuses just on our dispatch unit. And it's a high touch. So although it's a low barrier to entry, it's easy to mess up because it requires a ton of coordination. It's a people business. You vet your technicians as best you can. And we have a process now that we call Splice certified. So if that technician is Splice certified, we know that we vetted them based on geography and skill set and referrals and references. We check them all. And frankly, a lot of companies or our competitors don't have that time or staff to vet properly. So we win a lot of business. We have a less than 1% error rate. And you can imagine sending out technicians to multiple locations, how difficult that is. You could send a guy out to the wrong site. They could be late. They're contractors. So you're really relying upon them to get to the site on time. So our project managers are calling them on the day before, making sure they're ready, making sure they know where they're going, calling them that day. Are you on the road? There's a check-in and check-out process. I mean, it's such a high touch. If you could see, I was on the dispatch group. I asked to be on the dispatch group for visibility. I had to pull myself off because the number of emails and coordination was just blowing up my inbox. And I had to reach out to our director of operations and just tip my cap to him and said, I had no idea the level of coordination that was necessary to do this project. And wow, what a great competitive edge that is, that we have that process in place.
Yeah, and I can imagine the different customer types or client types that would be using that. Like maybe kind of give us a couple of success stories there. Everyone loves success stories, and I can imagine a few, but I'm sure you probably have some examples, of that over the last several years. Whether it be last minute deployments, whether it be sophisticated, whether it be multiple time zones and multiple geographies. I mean, maybe you can give us an example of some of those success
Yeah.
stories.
Well, there's examples in all of those that you just said. By the way, we hate the last minute emergency ones because it really requires scrambling and making sure you get the top tier techs. Because the top tier techs are calendared in advance. So the longer we have to do a project, the better, so we can properly plan it. And we always build our projects with a primary and a backup person in case something happens. But to answer your question, one of my favorite success stories, and I can tell you because it's public now, and they even agreed to be on our website. Nitel hired us to deploy to almost 1,000 locations in California for all the first responders in California. It was a huge project. So we had to coordinate in every city up and down the coast of California deployments of Nitel's SD-WAN gear for the first responders. So it was a critical deployment. It required an immense amount.
For like law enforcement, fire type of thing?
Yes, that's correct. So we deployed their hardware, their SD-WAN hardware. So we project managed the whole thing. We planned for the pallet shipment of all the equipment. I think there was three to four devices that were going into each location. We had to plan all the on-site techs, succinctly as we went down the coast, all the way starting from the tip of San Diego all the way back down to tip of like Eureka, and so it really required some planning and just oversight. And we did it, and everybody was happy, and it was just one of the most. And it was just from a revenue standpoint, it was a great revenue opportunity as well. But more importantly, it showed us that we're capable of deploying very large deployment projects. That's one of my favorites. But we've had others where they needed somebody out to a site within 4 hours, and it's best effort at that point. But when you come through for a company, when they really needed you, it's fulfilling in that way. And we like I said, we have all types.
That's typically one of those, hey, Andy, I'm sorry we have to do this to you, but we need someone in 4 hours. Can you help us, please?
Yeah. And that's not good for anybody because you're setting everybody up for failure. But sometimes, it is what it is, and you have to try and come through for your client. And we do everything we can to come through we've even sent, in an emergency situation in the Sacramento area, we sent one of our sales engineers who's very skilled at networking up to a customer site because it was just that dire. So we'll do whatever we can to make it happen. It's not optimal to do it, but we did it. It was over a Saturday, and he was willing to do it, and we came through for that client. It felt great to deliver for a customer.
Tell me about, two of the most successful parts of any business are obviously the people and the processes, right? And especially if you're doing project management across, geography, et cetera, that's got to be really challenging. How do you manage both? I mean, obviously hiring good people is probably one part of it. But how do you manage both the people and the processes? Yeah,
so great question. We do have great processes and great tool sets that we utilize. But I'll say, our leadership, our managers in those various divisions are top notch. And it all starts from, one of our core philosophies is servitude. And it's even on our website as it's called the Splice Way. and we're servants. And if you don't have a servant's heart, meaning you serve your clients, serve your customers, employees, and vendors, everybody on that line is important and deserves your servitude. And I'll just say that we've been blessed to have that type of talent within our organization, and it permeates throughout the organization. If you ask somebody to step up and deliver and do something that's outside of the normal, job description, you're never going to get a no. And really, the mentality is always yes, and we'll figure out how. And we've just, and they've hired the people underneath them with that same mentality, and we just have that mentality throughout the organization, and that's what I owe all of our success to.
And it's still a testament to you. I'm a big believer. We talk about it internally in our firm all the time that if you hire good people, and that gets thrown around a lot, but I'm a big advocate of taking your time to find A players, right? And once you hire A players and bring them in your organization, they're going to deliver an A player experience to your clients. They're then in turn going to hire A players, and it becomes this, this win-win mentality that as you build and grow your organization will carry on. And it
It's
all
very
starts
true.
from the top. So it's
No, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And by the way, sometimes you don't hire an A player, but you can develop people into being A players. And it's really just getting buy-in from everybody, how important it is to be a servant and to treat everybody with respect. I mean, you've probably heard of companies that mistreat their vendors. Why you would ever mistreat a vendor is beyond me, because you need them, and they're people,
a
and
partner.
you treat everybody with respect all the way down, and just be there to help, whether it's a fellow employee or a vendor or a customer. You treat everybody the same. And sometimes that requires, training and retraining, even internally. Everybody's human, and everybody will slip now and again, but it's a constant reminder of who we are and how we do things is what has gotten us to where we are today.
Yeah, and the other part too, and is both of us being former college athletes, and coaching never goes away, and good leaders are always there coaching their folks to help them get better, and the best
Correct.
folks that we have are the ones that are the most coachable. So
Amen. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's switch gears a little bit to the trends that you're seeing. Obviously, I used to ask this question in terms of what trends do you see in IT, and nowadays it's everyone's answer is AI. So it's I've just kind of repositioned the question as like, okay, how is AI going to affect both your clients and your business? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, great question. I think, much of that is still yet to be determined. However, there's AI built into a lot of tools, the tool sets that we use. And so we're never AI is never gonna replace our people, but it will help us become more efficient. There's efficient ways to manage call volume. There's efficient ways to manage dispatch. So there's just different ways that we're looking at right now to integrate AI into our service stack, and we've already got some of that in our operations, but we're constantly looking at new and better ways to implement it innovate. And this would be a better question for my VP of Technology, Tom McNinch, who heads up all of our technologies. But I can tell you that it is on our roadmap, and that we're always looking for ways to become more efficient.
Yeah, and the innovation side is probably the biggest key, right? Because your first part of your answer was, it's kind of what I've heard is that we're not really sure what it's going to look like yet. But I think all of us, ourselves included, we internally in our own firm are constantly trying to push ourselves to utilize, whether it's the chat GPTs or different LLMs inside of our own business, just to try and innovate and push and see what resonates, what works, what doesn't. Because if it's no use to sit on the sidelines and just say, well, I'll cross your arms and say, well, I'll just wait until things happen. with the exponential, growth that we've seen and we are going to see, I think if you're not at least, with trying to develop products, trying to innovate some ways to utilize AI in your business, that you run the risk of being left behind.
Oh yeah, it's moving so fast, and that's how technology is. I mean, when I broke into the the industry, there were people didn't have personal computers. There was no such thing as laptops. The internet wasn't even here.
Even the internet wasn't. Remember, I think we came into the
Yeah,
business world around the same time, Andy.
I came in '93, and the internet was rolled out.
Yeah.
I don't know, '95, '96,
Yep.
and we've all seen what, and then mobile phones too. I mean, so technology has just leapfrogged, and I think with AI, not only is AI leapfrogging, but the technologies as a result of that and the services as a result of AI are going to start leapfrogging. And so you're right. You have to be on the front end of that or cutting edge of that, or you're going to be left behind. And for our business, it's interesting because, like I said, it's such a people business and it requires a lot of coordination. However, I do think there's going to be some AI integration into especially in our dispatch side, that's going to be helpful to all of our project managers. The project management's never going to go away. I mean, you're not going to, replace PMing a
No.
large project with the AI, but there's an integration point that will just make you that much better. And there's so many, you're looking at thin margins when you're talking about dispatch service. It's how do you drive margin or increase margin at the same time as you're providing a customer with a better experience? It's all tied into customer experience too, and that's the way you do it. And with our other business, desktops, the other side of the business, the
Mm-hmm.
desktop support and the infrastructure monitoring and management, that there are definitely going to be AI tools that'll help us be more efficient in there, and that ties into our carrier management side too. It's all coming together with, I see AI as kind of the glue that's going to glue it all together to provide just the best customer experience for our customers.
Yep. And again, you talk about all the things that all of us as business owners look at, right? You're looking at margin. You're looking at the best, client experience you can deliver, and those all go hand in hand, right? Speaking of your growth, plans and your initiatives, like what do you see as, you obviously guys have been experiencing growth. You now kind of have, for the last several years, kind of gone into let's call it that managed services or the project management side that probably gives you good lead in for others. But what are some of your growth initiatives for your firm, and what are some of the challenges that you face in doing so?
Yeah, wow, there's the $1 million question. Well, keeping up with the demand is huge. I mean, when we first rolled out desktop support and knock management, the the I don't know, the idea of outsourcing your IT to a company like Splice was like, wow, how much control do I want to relinquish? But over the last 10 years, we've just watched the outsourcing just hockey stick. And it's gone from proof of concept or explanation to proof of concept to, hey, this is how much of our IT we plan on outsourcing, in the coming years. I mean, by 2026, I think it's going to be around a $300 billion industry. So we've watched that growth of outsourcing, through as an MSP just explode. And so we're just trying to make sure we're on that forefront of that growth and are able to support that type of outsourcing, because I'll tell you, where companies were reluctant at first, they saw us as a competitor, or directors of IT of a company would think of us as a competitor to come and take away their jobs. They're now embracing the fact that we're just an extension of their IT team. And that's all we are. We're not interested in coming to replace anybody within an organization. I mean, we always tell our customers, look, you can outsource as little or as much of your IT to Splice as you'd like, but we're just a part of your team. We have weekly cadence calls with our clients where it's our IT support group talking with their IT organization. We're talking about initiatives, their growth plans, and we want to make sure that we're a part of that. As long as we can fulfill our obligations and help a company build out their infrastructure and succeed, then it's a true win-win, and that's really all we're looking for.
Yeah, and you talk about the core aspect of outsourcing, and it really is allowing a firm to focus on their core competencies, right? I mean, whatever they got into business, whatever they're good at, right? And if
Correct.
if the IT side of the business isn't part of your core competencies, that would make sense, as it does make sense in a number of different, whether it's operations, logistics, a number of different ways where companies can outsource certain things, certain aspects of the business where they say, hey, this isn't our our core competency, and then back to the IT directors, right? I mean, over time, the IT always seems to be the first area that gets cut, that's viewed as an expense. So the C levels up at the CFO start cutting it. Meanwhile, their initiatives that they give them go longer and longer. And so, where that may have been the case, 10, 15 years ago, where they potentially viewed you as a competitor, now they look at you as almost a partner to say, hey, Andy, help us get these long list of initiatives done, you know,
Such a great
they're
point,
responsible
Terrence. I
for.
mean, such a great point because a lot of times, especially with startup companies with a great growth plan, they have many of the companies, especially here in Silicon Valley, they're heavily engineering built, and they're capable of supporting their employees, their desktop issues, but that's not why they were there. They're there to innovate and drive revenue and build out their product set, and then it's a distraction when they have to now support their internal employees' desktop support needs. So partnering with a company like us makes all the sense in the world. And now our conversations now with IT directors are so much different than they were, even 5 years ago, where now the
Very.
IT directors are saying, please take this off my plate. We're not in the help desk business. That's not our core competency. We'll outsource that to you while saving money at the same time and becoming more efficient, because now we have all the processes that it's really support in a box for these companies. They don't have to build it. They don't have to, constantly upgrade software or tool sets or equipment. We do all that for them. They don't have to even think about it. So you're right on the money there. And so, I think we've only scratched the surface on how we can support companies in an outsourced fashion, and so we're in it for the long haul, and constantly looking for ways to improve customer experience.
Well, it's one of the fun questions I like to ask people, and there's certain people I can almost guess that the answer would be, but like what do you enjoy about what you do, Andy? Like whether it's in IT, whether it's being a business owner. It's funny, and I say that because there's certain people that I know when I ask that question, probably what I'll get, and you're probably one of them. But I'm going to tee it to you. Tell me
Yeah,
about what
well,
what makes you tick. What gets your engine revving every day?
it's a great question, and I'll tell you what gets it's it really helping other companies, solving issues and problems for companies is really exciting for me. I don't have an IT background. Like I said earlier, I'm an old athlete, ex-athlete that started my career as a salesperson, and I kind of grew into this. I saw a need, and started a company. But I'll tell you, it's really exciting for me to be able to serve both, our employees, our board, and our clients. And it's a challenge every single day. So there's a thrill in getting up every day and finding new clients and supporting their needs. And so really, it doesn't feel like a job. It honestly doesn't. I've got a great team, and that in and of itself is the biggest blessing because I've got people that I can rely upon, people that are motivated by the same, similar motivations that I have, and we're all on the same page. And it just feels great to have that, knowing that I can go to sleep at night and know that my team's got it.
And as two ex-athletes, which we can talk about, we can exchange war stories out. We're not going to bore our audience with that, but the value of teammates, is unbelievable, right? I mean, and I, even just to one of my partners the other day, I said something about trying to get him to allow us to take some stuff off of his plate. And I said, hey man, you got teammates here, like leverage us, use us. Right. And you can go so much further in life with a good team, and building the right team. Taking the time to build the right team is so important. I know I can tell even from just my conversation with you today and how you view the culture of your business and your people, that probably resonates both internally as well as with your clients. But it's significant, and I think sometimes it gets overlooked.
Well, it's easy to overlook it. You have to dedicate the time and be invested in your people. And we have a culture here at Splice that, it's more like a family, believe it or not. I know that's kind of cliche, but, we celebrate birthdays. We celebrate every wins together. We celebrate anniversaries, and it's genuine. It's not, it's people really care about each other, and everybody has each other's backs. And when you ask somebody for help, you're not getting resistance. You're getting, what can I do? And that's the difference. And it's something that, we pride ourselves in, we work on, and we constantly retrain and talk about these sort of aspects and characteristics. And as a result, it permeates through to our clients, and they feel it as well. And so, I'm proud of the team that we've assembled, and the leadership and management that we have within our different departments. Fantastic people to work with, and just fantastic people to know.
Yep. Well, listen, as we wrap up here, I'm grateful for your time today. And if a business owner or executive is out there watching and wants to know, how Splice can help them, what's a good way for them to get in touch with you guys? What's a good way for them to learn more about you? What's a good way for them to follow you and what you're doing?
Well, thank you for that, Terrence. Yeah, if you just go to spliceit.com, that's SPLICEIT.com. That's our website. You can click on links for information or get a hold of us. We would love to evaluate your current infrastructure. And if we can help you, we're happy to tell you, yes, we can help you, or we'll tell you that that's not in our, hotspot. But, I tell you, we just love to just get an understanding of your current infrastructure and your current milestones. And if we can help you, we certainly would love that opportunity, and I would greatly appreciate it.
Well, great. We'll make sure and put your links. I know you're on LinkedIn as well, because that's where you and I got connected. And I'll make sure and put the link to you there as well, so folks can connect with you and follow you there. But
absolutely,
you're welcome for your time. I've loved our conversation. I would love to have you back again too.
Thank you, Terrence. Anytime. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's been great talking with you. I've really enjoyed the time with you.
Yeah, I have too. So hang tight, Andy.
Okay.